Okay, so welcome here. If you're here live or if you're watching this later at a later moment, welcome in. I am excited to talk to you today about things that have been like in my periphery for some time. And I have spoken to a lot of these things before, but I'm going to bring them forward today as well. So first of all, I want to invite you. I started to invite you and then hit record to um, be more still. Just be with your breathing, your breath, and take a sacred pause. And I congratulate you for being here, whether you're live or whether you're here at a later time, taking time for yourself to perhaps go a little bit deeper, um, turn in and tune in. I say that a lot, but I think it's a quick way to think about what we're doing all day long. How often are we being a little more still in order to turn in and tune in and be more present with observing what's really going on? So, um, I'm going to ask you a question to kind of get things going. And you can just contemplate it as I'm speaking, see how it lands for you. And the question is, what part of your life right now are you most resisting? And what might shift if you simply allowed it to be as it is? That's kind of a loaded question, but I invite you to sit with it and just let that kind of be over here on the side. It doesn't need to be right, the top of your head while I'm speaking. Um, but I invite you to have it just there. Maybe some of you got an answer really quickly and oh, I know exactly what I'm resisting. Maybe some of you, it's a little different and you're like, what is it exactly? So I have another question for you. If you are in this space and you're sitting wherever you be, whether you're in a car or in a home, in your bed, whatever, um, I invite you to become aware, conscious. Consciousness is awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of actually that we are, if we are aware and have consciousness, what we are aware of is that we are observing life, that we are observing our thoughts, because awareness is aware and observing our thoughts, but it is not a thought. Awareness is not a thought. It's the observance and the awareness that we are thinking, because our soul is whole. It's not broken. It's not thinking it needs to do anything. Our brain is doing that for us. So I invite you into this space to speak about, oh gosh, so many people are talking about manifestations and how to be present and be here in the now. And I do speak to this, but there's a more um, there's subtlety around manifestation. Like, what does that even mean? If we are trying to manifest form, like a better job or more money or a bigger home or a better car or things that are material, then we are literally sending out the signal that we lack. And because reality is a mirror, it's going to reflect back to us the very signal that we are sending out. Does that make sense? If you have any questions, please put them in the chat as we go. And if you so feel brave enough to put in the chat what it is right now that feels you're resisting, feels like you're resisting, there's some stickiness, uncomfortability around it, put it in the chat and we can talk about it, because I venture to guess you're not the only one resisting something. Okay, because our brains are wired to fix problems. And if it's wired to fix problems, then it's always searching literally for problems to fix. Can you see how that works? We are not our thoughts. We are not our brain. And so when we can step back and be the observer of, wow, that's a lot of thoughts. Is it true that we've talked about this, the things that we come to believe about ourselves before we know better than to challenge that thought? Because when we're young, we start to believe everything we're thinking because we see everyone else around us doing that. We're kind of taught by what we see modeled. We're little energetic sponges. We may see our parents or someone, an adult figure, saying something, but since we're energetic sponges, we start to feel the energy of, because all of our thoughts and our words have a vibration. And as adults, we kind of numb that out. But as kids, we're so tuned into that. So we start to have the cognitive dissonance between what is being said and what we're actually feeling. And then we start to make things mean something about us. Like, oh, my parents, if they're tired or traumatized, which they are because they're human, we don't know that as kids. So they send out a signal to us that we take in and we make it mean something about us. Like, oh, my parents are tired, or oh, they're stressed, or they're not getting along. That must mean that I need to be easier, or I need to be um, more more agreeable or easy, just all the things that we tell ourselves as kids that will keep us safe, keep us belonging in the family. So we do that. So back to, okay, Katie said here, thank you, Katie, for sharing. I'm resisting moving forward and letting go of old identities. Okay, yes. If everyone had their camera on, we were all able to raise our hand right now, I would say, who else has felt this in their lives at some point, if not right now? I would say yes, right now. This may be coming up for a lot of us because of what's going on in astrology right now. We're heading into a Pisces full moon, and it's heading into eclipse season for the next two weeks. So it's bringing up a lot of um, energy around what we are available for in romantic relationships and friendships, and what we're not. And I would venture to guess, like what you're saying, Katie, here is resisting moving forward and letting go of old identities. Okay, identity of what? If you all could think right now, when I was first asked this question, it kind of boggled my mind because I still was kind of wrapping my brain around how quantum physics works, how the foundation of reality works. And I would never venture to guess that my own energetic signal goes out and it literally brings back to me what I'm sending out. That's what it's doing. So if we don't like what we're living, what our reality is, it's not because that's happening to us. It's because what is going on in here energetically is reflecting into the mirror back to us. And if we don't like it, that's good because that gives us information. It's always giving us information. Oh, if there is a war in here, if I'm not willing to surrender and let go of old identities or challenge my thoughts, is that true that I don't matter? Is it true that I'm not enough? Of course, I felt like that as a child. I was raised in a big family. And that's one of my old identities. They kind of come like Olympic rings. They're never just one. Some are deeper than others, but for sure they are all based in not enoughness because we're human. And that's what we came here to experience, was what we're not. And we experience it long enough until it gets so uncomfortable and we're literally living a life of suffering that hurts, and we resist it because it's uncomfortable, because we're not willing to turn towards that part of us that ever came to believe the lie that we're not enough. So can you see how important the whole process of being human and forgetting our wholeness and having the experiences with what we're not, the identities of I should be this way because I think they want me to be. If anyone's brave enough to say what one of their old identities, or even a living identity right now that keeps coming up, please share. I would love to talk about that. I would say one of my longest standing identities that kept being shown to me through my relationships, through my experiences, was that I don't matter. And being raised in a big family, I was number 6 of 7 kids. That came up a lot. I don't matter. And because I felt like I didn't matter in this big family, I shape shifted in order to be seen as valuable and like an asset. I'm an asset to this family because I'm easy. I don't rock the boat. I'm a yes girl. I will do anything to make sure I appear likable. Very people pleasing tendencies there. And I tried to be more perfect. What is perfect? In order to be seen as valuable and belong in my family unit. So it took me years. I don't think it was until just some years ago that I finally started to turn in and tune in and say, why does this pattern keep showing up in my life? So the question I have for you that was asked to me that really started to shift and change things is, if you had to identify what reality you're living in based on an identity that you came to believe as true, what would that be? If you were really radically self-responsible and honest with yourself, what is the pattern that keeps showing up in your reality that you don't like, that feels really uncomfortable for you? And when you can do that and slow down to turn in and tune in, what is my pattern? What is the pattern that keeps playing out? What is my greatest fear? What is the thing that I'm resisting the most? And when you can answer that, oh, I must still believe that I don't matter because my reality keeps reflecting back to me that I'm not enough, or that I don't matter, or that I'm not lovable, or that I am bad. There's a deeper one there, that I'm actually bad, not just that I don't matter. And sometimes it does go that deep. And so everything in life is benevolently, kindly as your friend and your ally to show you that you are living in a lie. You are living in a reality, living an identity that isn't true, because our true nature is abundance and love and joy. It's not suffering. So if we are suffering and resisting in any way, we are out of alignment with our truest nature. I hope this makes sense to you. Okay, Katie, thank you for being so honest. I need to be the victim or sick in order to be and feel safe and have my needs met. I can't survive on my own. That's an identity that you're living in right now. Can you share? Are you willing to share? You don't have to. You can put it in chat or you can just leave it at that. I'm going to speak to this, Katie. How many of you have felt like a victim? Ooh, this is a deep one. I don't think we can be human and not at some point feel like a victim. I think that's part of experiencing what we're not, believing that we're a victim to the circumstances of our lives. And that is an awful feeling when you believe a lie that you don't always have a choice. We always have our agency. We always can choose, but we get so stuck believing that we must be this way in order to, and Katie said it, if I'm not a victim or sick in some way, I don't feel safe, because that is a familiar feeling. Because if you've grown up and lived a whole life based on being a victim, and that you get attention by being sick or having some sort of disorder, you gained something by actually living in that identity. And it's become so familiar and normalized for you that your brain is telling you, and it's your ego, Your brain is your ego because it lives in fear. It's always scared. And our ego is actually not our enemy. It literally has a good intention because it's trying to protect and preserve our identity. You're the sick one, remember? You're the victim. But that's based in the opposite of love. It's what we're not. It's based in what we're not. But we came here to experience what we're not. So it's based in fear. Our ego is actually our ally. If we can make friends with that aspect of ourselves and not shame it for trying to protect us, our identity, then we get to start to work with our ego and soften its grip and need to control the situation. Our egos does not want change because think about it. Change, Katie just said it. I need to be safe. I feel safer when I'm a victim and feel sick, and then my needs are being met. But what would happen? What would happen? She says, I can't survive on my own. That's what she believes. She must literally believe that, or she wouldn't be suffering and living in this identity. And it's reflecting back to her. And it creates, I'm sure, a lot of fear about how could I even change that? How could I become not a victim? How could I? Our true nature is well being deeply on every level, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. It isn't fear and suffering, but to experience it is the beauty of this life, because to experience it means to go to the depths of suffering until we decide to choose with our agency something new and trust in something bigger. So that's what I want to talk about today. When people talk about manifestation, it's not that you're chasing something in the future. If I can just like think and believe that I'm going to have a better house, I'm manifesting a house. And so I want to have this house. But if you don't understand the dynamics of reality, you will forever be sending out the signal that I desire and need, therefore I lack this thing. And you're sending out the signal of lack, and it will always reflect back exactly what it's receiving because it's a mirror. Do you see what that is? So if we're living in an identity that we can't see, because all of these things that came to be when we were children are living in our subconscious. And they are literally driving the train 95% of every thought, every reaction, every day, all day long of our lives is 95% driven by our subconscious, below our awareness, things we came to believe. So, unless we're thinking, like the fact that you're here right now is so, so lovely. Can you pat yourself on the back? Because there's something in you that desires something new, something different, something more real and authentic for you. No more suffering, no more believing your thoughts. Just take a step back and become the observer. If my reality is uncomfortable in any way and I'm resisting it, what am I doing all day long? Am I just sleepwalking through my life? Am I not aware of the signal subconsciously that's going out that's saying, I don't like this. I'm resisting this and I need something better. My life must be better for me to feel peace or whatever your desire is. Calm, safety, abundance, any of that, love. If we are thinking it's going to come in a future time, can you see that the signal you're sending out can never bring back the thing that you deeply desire? Because you're desiring it means you need it, means you lack it. So the universe is showing you you are a person who lives in lack. Can you see that? So when you shift your frequency to an every now moment to being this is it's such a beautiful thing to explain, and when you get it you'll get it. But it's when we are in resistance to anything that is happening right now that we don't like, I'm a victim and I don't feel safe. I I don't know what to do or where to go from here because change feels so scary. That signal is going out and repeating on repeat, and we will keep looping in our pattern. When we stop resisting what we're feeling like a victim, things start to shift and change in our vibration. I'm going to tell you a story, and I don't think it's random that Katie said this about a victim, feeling like a victim or sick. Um, this last month has been wild and crazy ride. I moved out of my apartment, but there was really weird circumstances that happened, and I will tell you them in a nutshell because it's got my attention. Because then something else happened just this last week that I'm like, okay, if I am going to preach these things and teach these things and sit with clients about these very things, and they're playing out in my own reality, am I going to dismiss that or am I going to turn towards that and tune in and be like, this has got my attention? When I moved out of my apartment, my son helped me. We moved out the night before because that's when his friends and him could help me. Great. So the next morning was my move out day, and I had set all my precious things aside that I didn't want to have ruined by Truman and his friends. So I had Izzy, my daughter, come up and we were going to do a couple car loads to take those final precious things that I'd set aside, like really nice luggage and all my toiletries and I'd been to Japan a month or two before. And so I had purchased a lot of like really beautiful skincare, Korean skincare, expensive. And I'd stocked my fridge because I was going to go camping. So all the precious things, sweaters from Norway, all the things, trinkets and things were set aside. And I came to pick them up the next morning. And lo and behold, there was a worker who had taken those things and thrown them down a dumpster chute and just got rid of them on the day of my move out. It didn't make any sense. I was in shock. And I did not take a sacred pause to be like, what is happening right now? I completely went from 0 to 1,000. And my reaction was it surprised me. It surprised me. My daughter was there and she was witnessing me like completely have rage just coming out of me in all directions. And it was like oozing out of me. And I was like, wow, this is, I teach about the empty boat, right? The empty boats that the Buddhist monk, he's meditating and he's in this state of bliss. And he's so like one with everything. And then a boat comes and disturbs his peace. And before he opens his eyes, he has this righteous indignation. Who dare come and like disrupt my peace? And he opened his eyes and saw that it was an empty boat, that it accidentally just become untethered and hit his boat. And he had instant enlightenment because he was like, oh my goodness, that was an empty boat. And it triggered what inside of me? Anger. It was an empty boat. Can I blame the boat for my anger that lives in me? Can you see how everything that we think is outside of us, we're going to blame something else for our victimhood? So when this happened, it got my attention because it was so random. And that man also stole many of my things and put them in his car. It's a long story. It's so random. It was just so random that it got my attention. Like, wow, there's rage, deep rage that has lived in me for so long. I don't even think I knew it was still there. I thought I'd done the work. That came up. That came up so severely. So that got my attention. I think it was important for my daughter to actually see me have true emotion because I'd always shoved that down and never allowed myself to rage or have anger in a healthy way, in an honest way. I wasn't hurting anyone. I wasn't yelling at him personally, but I was just like, my stuff. And it's funny, as I've looked back, I'm like, okay, so I'm going to say that. And then a week later, or this last week, just a few weeks later, I I was living in Italy for some years. And when I came back, I still had an Italian Amazon account. But when I came back here, and if I ever wanted to watch Prime, the videos were in Italian. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to finally remedy this. So I called them this weekend and said, can someone help me delete my Italian Amazon account so I don't keep having this problem? And they said yes. And they sent me the link and I clicked on it and it said Amazon IT Italy. And I deleted the account, but they sent me the wrong link. It deleted my whole American account. And I was like, oh my gosh, you'll just reinstall it, right? Because it is linked to Kindle, ebooks, Audible, anything on TV that is linked to Amazon, like my, Fire Stick, all the things. Everything's gone. All the data is lost and it's not retrievable. And, I have probably over 300 books in Audible because I've used it for my degrees and it's significant. And my kids use it and everything, and that's just gone. They're like, sorry, it's gone. And so once again, it got my attention because I could see my ego and my brain screaming for justice. This is not fair. That's not fair. I deserve justice. Um, But as I really sat with it, and I'm not going to lie, for a couple days, I was like, after the Amazon thing, I was like, what's going on? What, like, this has got my attention. It was like a 2x4 twice on my head. Like, are you really a victim, Noelle? What, what is it that your ego believes that it owns that can actually be taken from you? All the pretty things, the precious things that you set aside that someone put down a dumpster. What a violation. I'm a victim. And as I sat with this, I'm like, I really do preach and love to teach that there is beauty, capital B beauty in everything that happens because it's always guiding us. Every experience is always guiding us if we're willing to, guiding us back home to ourselves, to the deeper meaning of why we're even here. And so as I sat with that, I was like, can anything really be taken from me? Material things? Anything? No, my soul doesn't own anything. It's here to experience the beauty of all of life, not just the beauty of joy. Like, I'm going to cling to that because I love that joy and bliss and abundance and love. I'm going to cling to that and never be willing to feel the other very real and sacred aspect of me, which is my rage, my anger, my victimhood, my sickness. They're all a part of my experience, my human experience. Why would I push those away, cling to one and dismiss the other? Can you see the resistance that comes just energetically from trying to control the circumstances, experiences of our life in order to feel what? Safer? Safety does not come from outside things. Just like our rage doesn't come and our love doesn't come and our abundance does not come from anything outside of us and never can. It was never meant to. But we came here to experience feeling that it does because that's not true. We're here to experience what we're not in order to finally resonate with the frequency of our wholeness, which is abundance and love. It's all the things that we are. So as I sat with that, like, what really can be taken from me? How silly that my ego literally believed that I was a victim to life, that this should not be happening to me. This isn't fair. When I sit back, I'm like, that's the most beautiful thing that ever happened. Because what it did is like clear out more of the belief that I deserve pretty things that I can cling to because they make me feel a certain way about myself, my being. And so there was a lot of clarity that came forward in the last couple days. We're literally just the last couple days of, am I really a victim? Are any of us a victim? We always have a choice to choose a new way to observe our thoughts. Are they true? Is it true that I don't matter? Boy, oh boy, it sure is. Our reality is so persistent and persuasive in showing us what we believe to be true, or it wouldn't keep coming back to us. It's saying, how does that feel? How does it feel to believe you're a victim? Because that's the life you're living. It feels really shitty, actually, to be a victim. I lived in that space for this last month and I believed it. And it was like grinding me. I was like, what, why would this happen? Why? And it's like I could see myself believing I was a victim, but it was old, familiar energy. It was like I needed to be in it for a bit for it to kind of clear itself out finally. It's like, wait, I am not a victim of anything. I get to choose in every now moment how I want to be, how I want to feel. And that is how you manifest the life you want, is by stepping into your truest nature, the frequency of befriending now and making it your ally. Like all those moments of sitting there feeling like a victim, I'm like, wait a minute, actually, that was good that I was in that. It's part of the process. Believing I'm a victim is part of the process of remembering that I'm not. And that's why we're here. So I want to talk to you about, so if we're going to manifest anything, it's being, manifestation is being here now. We don't become the version of ourselves we long for. You be her now. That's the essence of manifestation. The future's never going to come. We can think about the future, but it's only ever going to happen now. If we're thinking about the past and the victimhood that I lived in the past, believing, not even knowing that I was believing I was a victim, but everything was showing me you're a victim. How does that feel? Look what just happened. Shouldn't you be getting justice? Shouldn't you fight for your rights and get all that back? And there was a part of me that was like, yeah, and I could feel it. And it was like angry and like wanting to blame someone. And then I realized, oh my goodness, every time we're blaming anything outside of us, look again, there's three fingers, one pointing out, three pointing in. We will only ever blame something else if we're not willing to own that we have made a choice to believe that we are a certain way. Okay. Thank you, Tiffany, for being here. Um, so getting very honest with yourself and asking yourself, what is it that I'm resisting right now that feels so uncomfortable? Am I willing to tune in as I'm turning in and tend to that aspect of myself that still believes that I'm a victim? How can I love on her? How can I give compassion to her and say, you can still choose? You can still choose to believe that you're going to be okay by not believing that you're a victim. What would that even feel like? And maybe it's as simple as, and I've taught this before, what do I want to feel like in every now moment? And everyone may have a different answer at a different time in their lives, in a different hour of their lives. Mostly as I sit with people and I ask this question, they will say peace. They just want peace. They want things to feel flowing and easy, like simplicity. No drama. No being like feeling that I don't matter, that I'm a victim, but just peace, like ease. But how does that arrive? Does that arrive at a future time because you're doing all the things now so it can arrive? Can you see how the signal you're sending out through over efforting, believing that you don't have peace now, that sends out the signal that you're lacking peace, and peace will be unattainable because it's something that you're efforting, thinking it's going to come in the future. When the only, so think about this. When someone said this to me, I was like, oh, that's a good way to think of it. Right now, your reality, everyone's reality right now is an echo of all of your thoughts and beliefs and words, the world of words you're living in and telling yourself, your inner dialogue. It's an echo. Right now, your life, what you're experiencing is an echo of what you have been believing and thinking and saying to yourself for months, years. So if you don't like the reality, think back into the past. What is my inner dialogue telling me, about life, about others in my life, who they are, if they're safe or not, that I don't matter to them, or they're not nice. The world is like going to hell in a handbasket. All of those thoughts and beliefs become our reality. And until we own that, oh my goodness, this is sticky. These, I had to say, what is being shown to me through all of these experiences, that I'm a victim? I must believe somewhere deeply that I'm a victim, because what is coming into my thing is, how does that feel to feel like a victim? Ooh, that brought up so many experiences of when I have felt violated. For sure, in my marriage back in the day, I felt very violated. The things that I held so dear and precious, family and all of the stuff, had been violated. I had felt violated, so I felt like a victim. But I don't think I would have said that I felt like a victim until now. Looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, that was an energy that lived there and it kept playing out. But I was available for it because somehow it felt a little comfortable, a little familiar. So when we start to tune in and say, this is uncomfortable, but until I own it and stop blaming anything outside of me, all the empty boats that are coming as an ally, life is always communicating with us, telling us, how does it feel to believe this reality? Is it uncomfortable in any way? Guess what? The good news is, if you are that powerful of a creator being to create that much suffering by believing a false belief, thought, you are that powerful to create the opposite. So, Katie said, I need to be a victim or sick in order to be safe and have my needs met. I can't survive on my own. So that is her belief. But can you see how thinking, okay, so if we only ever have now, we can think about the past. We can only think about it now. But think of how much energy it takes to literally be pulled back energetically, because that's what past is. It's being pulled energetically to thoughts of other than now. And now you are giving your attention where your attention goes, your energy flows. And now you're giving all this attention to things that can't change because you're just thinking about it. It's already happened. Time, we don't move through time. Time moves through us. We are here now, always. And time in this three-dimensional realm that we live in to experience all of that we are so we can gather the wisdom of our emotions, all of them. It's moving through us, actually, time is. And we think of it as past and future, but it's only ever happening right now in different dimensions of now, of time, right? It's a little mind-blowing, but can you see how much energy we leak by believing we need to keep going back to the past and healing the versions of us when we finally, in any now moment, can say, guess what? Time out. I am going to choose a new way to believe, to think, to live. And you get to do that in every now moment. And that may look like every hour setting an alarm, like, oh, how aware am I right now that I'm thinking about the past still, or thinking that I'm a victim, or trying to figure out how I can get more attention from being this certain way, because that is how I've been functioning for so long in my life. When I work with some clients, literally, I mean, I have to say it was very brave of you, Katie, to say that and admit it. Because some people, I'm like, what are you gaining from being sick or having this disorder or being the one that needs help all the time? There must be something that you're gaining, because it's too scary to think of letting go of that identity and becoming, or we don't become something because we're all the versions of ourselves now. What are we wanting? Every version of us is available always at any time. Where will we give our attention to the version of us? Whatever we're giving the most attention to is what we become or step into that reality. Every reality is available to us at any given moment. We can choose to vibrate at the frequency of any of those. Victimhood is way down here, and it's low vibrating because it's the frequency of fear, which is very low vibrating. Shame is the lowest vibrating emotion, just above death. Death is 0 hertz. 20 is shame and guilt and remorse and regret. And it kind of goes up, up, up on the scale. And the highest vibrating is love. It's the most powerful force, energetic force in all of the universe. And it encompasses all the other emotions because they're not separate. Everything's one. So if you think about it, everything, everything exists because of the power of love. So everything is perfectly love, even victimhood and fear and death and all of that, because they are part of love. It's part of our curriculum to be here and experience all of it, the whole vast everything, the whole spectrum of between love and fear. All of it is meant to be experienced. So we can gather the wisdom of the experience of the emotions. Emotions are the prize of life. When we're willing to feel our emotions and not resist them anymore, be with what is without blaming or becoming a victim or just saying, oh, that's rage. Wow, that's big. That's anger. And I've been shoving that down for my whole life, believing that a good girl, a good woman would never allow that to come up and out. So, um, okay, I'm just looking at my notes here. Our inner world, I did speak to this, creates our outer experience. Life doesn't happen to us. Who you are being vibrates outward and shapes what comes to meet you. It can only be that way. Um, Desire versus wholeness. I've spoke to this too. Seeking something out there sends a signal of lack. I need that thing. I don't have it. True abundance begins when you remember nothing outside of you can make you whole. The peace and the joy that you're searching for literally live here, but you will never feel them in your over efforting. You will feel them in your stillness. That's why it's very interesting that we live in this society that is so steeped in distraction, keeping us just busy enough that we never slow down to be still, to feel who we be. Think about that. When is the last time you actually slowed down enough to be still and turn in and tune in and not be thinking that, oh, I'm not good at this, or oh, this is not for me, or oh, what am I going to do after this? It's becoming the observer of your thoughts and not judging them good, bad, right, or wrong. Like, oh, how interesting. It's curiosity. They call it loving awareness in meditation and mindfulness circles. As you sit and you observe your thoughts, you're not judging them. You're just like, ah, yeah, okay, thinking. Not even judging what you're thinking, just noting, thinking, huh? And you become aligned with the observer. We've talked about this. Our thoughts are like a river. When we are in the river and there's rapids, which there usually are, because that's what our brain does, right? It's always trying to fix problems, finding problems to fix. What is a problem, though? A problem is only something if you believe it's a problem. Is it really a problem? That that's happening, or that this is how is that a problem? It's only a problem if you believe that it's a problem, right? So our brain is trying to find problems to fix. As we step back out of the river and get on the bank of the river instead of swimming in the rapids, suddenly we're the observer of our thoughts, and we become more aware that we are not our thoughts, that they're just always firing, and we get to observe them and say, ah, how interesting that I thought that. Is that true? Byron Katie has done beautiful work around, she calls it the work, and it's questioning our thoughts. You know, my partner doesn't love me or something like that. You know, is that true? And that, you know, then we have to say, well, some people will say, yeah, that's true. I believe that. And then her second question, is it really true? Are you absolutely sure that that thought is true? And then people have to say, well, I don't know. Then the third question is, how does it feel in your body when you believe that that is true, that thought? How does it feel in your body? Well, it feels awful because it feels like I don't matter, and it makes me sad, and I'm scared because what would happen if he really doesn't love me? Will he leave me? Right. So now we're getting into old beliefs of abandonment, that I don't matter. I'm not lovable. Do you see this? And then that next question is, who would you be? How could you feel when you didn't believe that thought is true? When you stopped believing that it was true, how would you feel? And then the last question of all of her stuff is very fascinating. If you want to go study Byron Katie, she says, flip it. She's like, then you start to flip the question, and you can ask all sorts of questions like, maybe I don't love him. Maybe I don't love myself. Maybe he doesn't love himself. Like all the questions, you start to flip it. And what becomes more true is that you're worrying about all of our ego is like trying to protect ourselves. Like, I don't matter. He doesn't love me. Do I love myself? Like all these things, instead of being just here now, stepping into the power that you have to choose love over fear, truth over ego. Does that make sense? So, so your relationship with now is everything. If we are resisting our present moment, our that energy goes out and the vibration lowers and suffering grows. We're growing the very thing we fear the most. Have you ever heard the saying, the thing you fear the most is the thing you're drawing in? That's the truth in quantum physics. The foundation of reality is the signal you're sending out will bring back exactly that same signal. So when you are choosing now to say, oh, I was tempted to go back to those thoughts of victimhood and feeling a certain way, but guess what? I'm not doing that anymore. I've done that. I've healed that. I've worked on that so many times, and I've gone down the rabbit holes. Just my awareness that they exist is enough. And now I take my power back literally in every now moment and say, no longer am I going to be pulled back energetically to anything in the past that happened. I choose now, and I'm not even thinking about, oh, I need the future to be this way. Because when you tend to the now moment, your future tends to itself. You start to see all the shifts, all the synchronicities start to align with your new inner way to be now. That's how you shape your future, by being present now, not resisting what is, and saying, I am enough right here. And I'm going to stay right here because I love myself enough to stay. And not, when I say stay, I mean stay with your emotions, stay here now instead of going to a future, like a painful past or a fearful future. They're two states of being that are illusions, past and future. They don't exist except for where? In our minds. So it's kind of just the illusory state of dreaming. And we live our lives dreaming instead of like sleepwalking instead of being here now, saying, oh, I can choose right now to choose love. How would love show up right now with me, for me, the love that I am? Well, she would stay with her emotions and not judge them, thinking, my thoughts, okay, there they are. I'm not going to believe them. And I stay with the aspect of myself that can never leave me, which is my soul. Our soul isn't someplace out here. Our soul is right here. It's right with us. Can we allow our soul to tend to us and we attend to our soul? That's the deeper work, is trusting your soul knows. And as you step into stillness a little bit every day, being a little more still, you start to feel her. She's your wholeness. She exists right now. And she is cheering you on. She's your highest self, whatever you want to call her. She's very aware of you and she loves you deeply. Tap into her love for you and feel it. She knows she's one with everything. And so you, trusting that, get to experience that love. What does that feel like, that love? It has no conditions on it, does it? It's very beautiful. Okay. So we talked about that. Surrender is power. So resistance drains, right? Surrender fuels. If resistance, like, no, I don't like this, I'm a victim, I'm not safe here, whatever, that is draining your energy and keeps you stuck believing you're a victim because you're drained of your life force energy. The paradox, it's this spirituality is like a paradox, right? It's counterintuitive. When you no longer need what you desire, then it starts arriving. When you start to believe, oh, wait, I am love, everything starts to shift because now you're not seeking it somewhere outside of you. And this is interesting. The now moment is like a child. If you neglect the now, it's going to act up to get your attention. When you give it loving presence, it starts to soften and then it flourishes. Does that make sense? Another analogy is if you took a beach ball, and maybe you've done this, and you tried to hold it underwater. That is like resistance in life, in every now moment. Have you ever been successful at holding a ball underwater? A beach ball? It'll bounce out here, go out here, go away. The energy it takes to keep that ball down is exactly that same energy that it's like to be thinking about past things or future things and not be here now. It takes an incredible amount of energy. Thank you, Katie, for being here. Okay. It takes so much energy to hold that ball down. Can you imagine if you let the ball go and you surrendered and you just allowed the ball to be and you were observing the ball? It might fascinate you what the ball does. What an interesting ball. I don't have, it's not my responsibility to keep it underwater. I'm just watching it. It's just a ball. That's life. If we are resisting and trying to control life, the ball, we will spend our whole lives doing that. And it will become so familiar to do that. Not doing it will feel incredibly uncomfortable at first until you create the new neural pathways. Thank goodness they know about neuroplasticity and epigenetics. As we get older, we literally can change our brain structure by our thoughts. Just the patterns. It's like a fresh blanket of snow that has a couple of paths going on it, right? And with those paths, those patterns of thinking are so familiar that a new path will seem very scary. But once you create the new path, you're like, oh, that wasn't so scary. I can do that again. And you start going down that path. And then you have a new default. And it's not fear anymore, it's love. So it's worth experimenting. I say this a lot. Think of your life as an experiment. Can you experiment with stillness, with observing your thoughts, and not resisting what is? Those activities will literally change your life for the better. So much less suffering, getting closer and closer to the peace that you already are. Okay. And I'm going to say this at the end here. Your energy is your responsibility. It's not someone else's. I could point fingers at those events that happened in my life, Amazon, and then that employee at my apartment that threw all my stuff away, all my precious things away and stole some things or tried to. I could blame him for how I felt. He did that. So therefore, I feel all these things: rage, victimhood, victimization and violation. But can anyone really make me feel anything? Think about that. If our energy is our responsibility, how can I blame someone else for how I'm feeling? But we do it all the time. Well, they said this, so that made me feel this way. Or this happened, so therefore I am justified in feeling this. Or they're so loving. Of course, I'm going to love back. It's so easy. They made me feel love. It's them that's making me feel love. No, nobody can make you feel love, anger, rejection, grief, dismay. Yes, those things exist and we are meant to be here to experience them, but they exist inside of us. Yes, we're a part of life. And yes, our reality is showing us what we believe, but nothing can make us feel anything that we're not willing to feel. Or to, let me phrase that differently. Nobody can make us feel other than what we truly are. Our truest nature is love. So when things are happening out here, instead of blaming, we can say, oh, that lives in me, that rage, that anger. Of course, because I'm human. I'm meant to experience these things and not shove them down and dismiss them because they'll come back up later. Look, they're coming back up now in my life to say, this wants to be cleared out. You've sat on this for so long. The body keeps the score. This wants to be moved out. And tears, I'm going to say this again, tears is the release of the chemicals of trauma and feelings unfelt. Trauma is feelings unfelt. It's emotions that got stuck. Energy and motion is emotion. So emotions come and they want to move through us so we get to experience them and gather the wisdom of emotions that our soul can be like, oh, I know what it's like now to experience grief. Wow, I'm so glad I'm human. I wouldn't have been able to experience that in any other realm than this plane of existence. As humans, we are here to experience the whole spectrum and not deem it good, bad, right, or wrong. Just say, oh, this is my experience, because now I'm gathering wisdom through my experience. But if we're unwilling to experience it and let it come and go, then we're clinging to fear. Where does that go in our bodies? Ancient Eastern wisdom traditions talk a lot about where anger goes to your heart, fear goes to your kidneys, grief goes to your lungs. And that's just a very simplified version. There's so much there. And it's very interesting to study that our emotions literally create somatic illness, dis-ease. When there's dis-ease in our emotions, it goes into our bodies, into our cells, and starts to manifest as illness, dis-ease, sickness. That's a whole other realm of talking about things. But I invite you to trust that the universe wants more for you than your mind, your brain can even imagine. And when you surrender, trusting that there's something greater, God, the universe, all that is, the great mystery, whatever you want to call it, knows you so intimately. You are so connected. You are never not connected to source. And when you surrender, your thoughts about how you think your life should be, you literally are opening up and aligning with everything greater that wants to come in for you. And that flow carries you further than striving ever could, or controlling, or resisting. So sit in stillness, feel into the frequency of love, of freedom. Think of the freedom that comes when you stop believing the lie about yourself. When you start believing the truth, joy, and abundance, not as hope. Oh, I hope this is true, but as a lived vibration. I trust that I am one with source and everything, because it's one with everything. And when I believe that, I offer up my life to become like a devotion, an appreciation, a gratitude for all that is. Thank you. It's like when I travel, this is probably one of the last things I'm going to say, unless anyone is here and wants some support, I'm happy to give that here. But when I travel, I never know where I'm going. I mean, I'll get somewhere, but I don't have a plan. I don't know where I'm going to stay or what places I'm going to visit. I just really let Providence take control. I surrender. And it's really easy because I'm traveling, right? So that's an easy thing for me to do. Some people, it scares them to death. And that's one of my highest offerings, is to come travel with me, work with me for some months, and then travel with me. But you can pick the place, but we're going to travel the way that I travel is to not know. And it's beautiful because as I have traveled with some people this way, some women, at first they can be really unsettled. Like, I need to know where we're staying tonight, or what are we going to do tomorrow, or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know. If we missed the train, then that was meant to be, and we're going to go this direction instead. Or let's come to the T in the road. And what do you want to go left or right? What feel into it. And it always ends up being magical because we didn't think we had a better plan. We didn't say, well, we're going to stay here this night and then we have to be there tomorrow. And then we're going to go see this museum. We're going to do this. Yeah, you may be like, well, I kind of want to get there because I've heard that's pretty. But how we're going to get there is just going to be kind of random. And it always, we meet the right people. We see the beautiful things. We see things beyond what we thought we would see because we met this person who's local and they're like, oh, don't go to that. It's so touristy. Go over here. And then we have this beautiful experience that would not have happened if we'd had it master planned. Do you see that? So when we can take how we travel into the flow of our lives and trust that we don't have to have everything master planned in our life. In fact, when we have a master plan built from our brain, we are missing out on the most magical, beautiful aspects of our lives. Trusting that we are actually always held by something so much greater than us that wants to bring better things than we can make up in our brain, things that are unimaginable. And that has been my experience. Moving back here to America was the last thing I thought I would finally do. And I did it because I felt it and I trusted it. And I was like, okay, I'm going back just to see. I don't know. And it has been beautiful. It hasn't been perfect, but what is perfect, right? I'm here to experience. It's a game changer when I start to believe that life is always going to take me and show me the beauty. So if it's messy and I'm blaming life, can you see how I'm resisting? If it's messy and I'm like, there's beauty in the mess too, because there's something to learn in the mess. Now everything becomes my benevolent ally in showing me where I'm still not free. If I'm triggered by feeling like a victim, it's just showing me you're not free yet, darling. Turn in, tune in, and get clear and release that old identity that was really familiar and safe and step into freedom. See what that feels like for a bit. And now it's like I can't go back to thinking I know better. I can't, because every time I do, it's it's not magic. It's not magical. There's so much magic. I could list it, but I'm not going to. But I would love to invite you to feel your own magic in your life by trusting that you are always held, you are always guided, and that we are not victims. You're never a victim of life. You get to choose love over and over and come back to love every time. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or you can raise your hand and I can help you. If there's anything that you're dealing with right now that feels heavy or any patterns in your life that are coming up again that you're curious about or want to shift and move, I'm here to help you with that. If you don't want to reach out here, you can reach out to me on Buffalo Queen or in my DMs on Instagram, Buffalo Queen, or on Facebook, any of that. Please, please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you, to support you in any way on your journey. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a desire to go a little bit deeper in knowing your true nature. And so I honor you for being here. So much love for you all. And namaste, which is the divine light in me recognizes and loves the divine light in you. Thank you for being here. And until next time, we'll see each other in 2 weeks. And then I have the men's group. I send out emails. If you want emails, please let me know. I send out the email with the recordings, and I have a YouTube channel, The Buffalo Queen. All of my recordings are there, whether it's with the women or the men. And if you haven't watched any of the men's gatherings, I invite you to watch the latest one, or any of them actually. But the latest one was really special. I was so surprised because so many men showed up and they had their cameras on and we were talking and they were vulnerable and open. And I started to cry because it was so beautiful. I was like, wow, thank you. This is exactly what I hope for. Men, old and young, there talking about what has worked in their lives, what hasn't worked, what they observed their parents and grandparents doing that didn't work. And they're willing to talk about it and show up in a new way. They have more resources and tools and time to be able to do that now. And so it's very beautiful. Um, we're all waking up and remembering that our true nature is love. We're never separate from it. We're never separate from all that is. And that's the most beautiful thing. That's the energy that we're stepping into now. And I have so much, I don't want to say hope because it's more than hope, it's faith. And it's like, it's moving. I feel it, the energy of change, of becoming more aware, less sleepwalking through our lives, and more aware of our true nature for men and women alike, and healing what has been wounded. Okay. So much love. Ciao for now. Until next time. Bye.